A typical morning turned into a shock when a young woman, upon opening the door of her wardrobe, discovered her mother-in-law inside. "What are you doing here? How did you get the keys to my apartment?" She managed to stammer out, taken aback. Her mother-in-law, however, replied calmly, "My son gave me permission to take some things you don't need." Already her hands held bags filled with other people's jackets and coats. Hello, dear listeners. I'm delighted to welcome you to my channel. I'm presenting a new, engaging story for you. Enjoy listening. Marina returned home earlier than usual. The power went out at the office due to some accident at the substation. The key turned in the lock smoothly, without the usual click, and that should have alerted her. But all she could think about was Vanya. Work had worn her to the bone. A new project, demanding clients, a boss who expected the impossible. She kicked off her heels in the hallway and tossed her jacket onto the hanger. A strange silence hung in the apartment. Not the quiet of an empty home, but a tense, watchful stillness. Marina went to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and drank it in one gulp. She checked the time, 2:30. Oleg was still at work. He wouldn't be home for at least another 4 hours. She could relax. Heading to the bedroom to change, she pushed open the wardrobe door and froze. There, amidst the hangers of her clothes, stood Tamara Olegovna. Her mother-in-law stood as if nothing were amiss, bags in hand, already neatly packed with Marina's jackets and coats. For a few seconds, they simply stared at each other. Marina couldn't utter a word. It was so absurd that her brain refused to process the scene, her mother-in-law in her closet with her belongings. "What are you doing here?" Marina finally breathed out. "How do you have the keys?" Tamara Olegovna stepped out of the wardrobe as if she had been caught in a perfectly natural activity. She adjusted the bag on her arm, unperturbed. "My son said I could take some things you don't need," she stated calmly. "He said you have a lot of clothes you don't wear. Why let good things go to waste?" Marina felt something boiling inside her, not just anger, but something deeper, accumulated over 3 years of marriage. 3 years ago, things had started out well enough. Oleg was attentive, caring, and rarely spoke of his mother. "She lives alone. Her pension isn't enough. I help her as much as I can," was the extent of his stories. Marina didn't object to helping parents. She herself regularly sent money to her mother in Voronezh. It seemed normal for children to care for their elders. The first real warning sign came a month after the wedding. Tamara Olegovna arrived unannounced with a huge bag full of food containers. "I made borscht, cutlets, and pies. I thought you might be starving. I bet you don't cook, dear," she chirped. Marina remained silent, though she was hurt, as she was a perfectly capable cook. Oleg had never complained, but she kept quiet because, after all, your mother-in-law was a sacred cow. You couldn't conflict. Later, it turned out Tamara Olegovna had a key to the apartment. Oleg had given it to her, just in case. For what specific case? He couldn't explain, muttering something about unforeseen circumstances. Marina asked for the key back, but it never quite happened. Either the mother-in-law was busy or Oleg forgot, or suddenly it was essential for watering plants while they were on vacation. They didn't even have plants. Tamara Olegovna began to visit regularly, always during working hours when Marina wasn't home. Traces of her presence were constantly discovered: rearranged dishes, moved furniture, missing food from the refrigerator. Once Marina found that her new face cream, which cost nearly $3,000, was half used. When asked, Oleg shrugged. "Mom stopped by, maybe she washed her hands and used the cream." "Is it a big deal?" It wasn't about the cream. It was about boundaries being eroded daily. 6 months ago, there was the incident with the gold earrings, a gift from her grandmother, her only memento of her. Marina kept them in a jewelry box on her dressing table. One day, the box was empty. Searches yielded nothing. Marina wept all evening, while Oleg assured her she had simply misplaced them. A month later, she saw the earrings in Tamara Olegovna's ears. When directly asked, Her mother-in-law claimed they were a gift from Oleg for her anniversary. Oleg confirmed, "Yes, I bought them at the jeweler on Tverskaya Street." Marina took a photo of the earrings and went to the jeweler who had worked with her grandmother. He confirmed his work and his hallmark. When she confronted Oleg with this, he lost his temper. "Are you saying my mother is a thief? Do you have any conscience?" The earrings remained with Tamara Olegovna. After that, Marina began hiding valuables in a bank safe deposit box. Documents, jewelry, money, everything went there. At home, she only left the essentials, yet items continued to disappear. A new towel, a set of bed linens, a good frying pan. When questioned, Oleg's answers were always the same. "I don't know. I didn't see it. Maybe it got lost." Nothing got lost. It all went to Tamara Olegovna's one-room apartment on the outskirts, a place Marina had seen only once and had no intention of visiting again. There, in that apartment, on the sofa, sat cushions they had chosen together from Zara Home. In the kitchen hung curtains Marina had bought at IKEA, and in the hallway stood a shoe rack that had vanished from their corridor 3 months prior. Marina tried to talk to her husband. Calmly, without shouting, like adults, she explained that this couldn't go on, that it was their home, their boundaries, that she didn't mind helping his mother, but not like this. Oleg listened, nodded, and promised to speak with his mother. Those conversations apparently never happened, as Tamara Olegovna's visits didn't cease. 2 months ago, Marina came home to find the wallpaper in the living room had been replaced. No one had asked. No one had warned her. They had simply re-wallpapered. The wallpaper was cheap, with little pink roses, the kind you used to see in Khrushchev-era apartments 20 years ago. Tamara Olegovna, it turned out, knew a good handyman who did it cheaply. Marina nearly fainted. They had just renovated the place 6 months prior, spent a fortune, and chosen every detail. And now, pink roses. Oleg had raised his voice at her for the first time then. "Mom wanted to do something nice. She tried, and you only criticize. You're ungrateful." They didn't speak for a week, and today, this. Her mother-in-law rummaging through her closet, taking her things, and acting as if she had every right. "These are my things." Marina tried to speak evenly, though her hands trembled. "Mine. I wear them." "Oh, come on." Tamara Olegovna waved her hand. "You have so much. Oleg himself told me, 'Take whatever you want. I'll take some, and I'll give the rest to my niece. Why let good things go to waste?'" "Nothing is going to waste." Marina's voice broke into a shout. "This is my jacket. I bought it with my own money." "With whose money?" scoffed her mother-in-law. "Oleg earns the money. He supports you. This is all his money, by the way, and the apartment is his, so don't put on a show here." There it was, what had always hung in the air but was never spoken aloud. The apartment was indeed registered to Oleg. He had inherited it from his grandmother. But they lived there together, paid for renovations together, bought furniture together. Marina worked as an editor at a major publishing house, earning a decent salary of $60,000. In Moscow, that wasn't a fortune, of course, but it wasn't pocket change either. She paid for half the groceries, utilities, and bought her own clothes, and now they were telling her it was all not hers, that she was just a temporary tenant. Tamara Olegovna moved towards the door, the bags rustling. They held items worth at least $70,000. The down jacket Marina bought last year, a cashmere coat, a leather jacket, 2 warm cardigans. She took them and left, as if she had just come home. Something snapped in Marina's head. Not just anger, but a cold, clear determination. "Tamara Olegovna," she called out softly. Her mother-in-law turned at the doorway. "Do you know that Oleg took out a 5 million ruble loan 3 months ago?" Marina spoke calmly, looking directly into her eyes. "In my name, without my knowledge. He forged my signature. I have all the documents, the experts' conclusions, and a police report. One word from me, and your son will be charged with fraud. So unpack everything from those bags and give me the keys immediately." She was bluffing, of course. There was no loan, but she spoke so convincingly, so coldly and clearly that Tamara Olegovna froze. Her face turned pale, and the bag slipped from her hands. "What are you saying?" "You heard perfectly well." Marina stepped forward. "Let's do this. You will now take all my things out of these bags, put them back in the closet, then you will take out the keys, give them to me, and leave. You will never return to this house again, under any circumstances." "Oleg won't allow it." The mother-in-law attempted to protest, but her voice trembled. "Oleg decides nothing," Marina cut her off. "Because if you don't do as I say right now, I will go to the police and explain exactly how this loan was obtained. Do you think they won't be interested? Do you think experts won't find traces of forgery? And I'll also remind you of my earrings that you stole and the items that regularly go missing from the house. That's called systematic theft. There's a law for that. Google it in your spare time." She didn't know if such a law existed. She wasn't even sure if any of this would work, but she spoke as if a whole army of lawyers stood behind her. Tamara Olegovna stood pale, opening and closing her mouth like a fish out of water. Then slowly, very slowly, she bent down and picked up the bags. Her hands were shaking. You'll regret this," she hissed. "You'll regret it if you don't do exactly as I've said right now." Marina crossed her arms over her chest. "You have exactly 2 minutes." The mother-in-law silently began to pull the items out of the bags, tossing them onto the bed haphazardly, in a hurry, stumbling. Then she reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a set of keys. 2 keys for the front door and the building entrance. Marina snatched them, clenching them in her fist. The metal was warm and unpleasant. "And now, leave, and tell Oleg to call. We have things to discuss." Tamara Olegovna darted towards the exit and slammed the door. Silence. Marina sank onto the bed. Her hands trembled. Her heart pounded as if it were about to leap out of her chest. She couldn't believe what she had just done. Lied, brazenly, cynically lied, and it had worked. For about 20 minutes, she just sat staring at the wall. Then she got up, gathered the items from the bags, carefully hung them back in the closet, went to the kitchen, brewed a strong cup of tea, and sat at the table, cradling the hot mug. Oleg called an hour later, shouting so much that she moved the phone away from her ear. "What are you doing? My mother is hysterical, saying you threatened her. What loan? What are you even talking about?" "Come home. We'll talk," Marina said calmly. "I'm at work." "Then we'll talk in the evening." She hung up. Oleg called 5 more times. She didn't answer. Then she silenced her phone and started cleaning. She needed to keep her hands busy. Oleg arrived 3 hours later, abandoning work, evidently bursting into the apartment, red-faced and disheveled. "What the hell is going on?" he yelled from the doorway. Marina sat on the sofa, sipping her tea, and looked at him calmly. "Sit down. Let's talk like adults." "What talk?" "You, my mother," Marina interrupted him, "has been robbing our house for 3 years. She took my things, my clothes, my personal belongings. Today I found her in the closet, stuffing my jackets into bags. And do you know what she told me? That you gave her permission?" Oleg's face turned even redder. "Well, she lives alone. It's hard for her." "Stop!" Marina raised her hand. "Did you really give your mother permission to take my things?" "Not yours. Well, I mean," he fumbled. "You buy a lot and Mom needs it." "I buy with my own money that I earn, and these are my things, my property. Do you understand those words?" "The apartment is mine," Oleg blurted out. "You're just living here, by the way." There it was, the second time that day, what she had always suspected but refused to acknowledge. "I understand," Marina nodded. "So I'm just here for nothing, a temporary renter." "Don't twist my words. I'm not twisting them. I'm summarizing." She stood up and walked to the window. "For 3 years, I've closed my eyes to your mother behaving like the owner of your home, coming without warning, rummaging through things, bringing in whatever she wants. Remember my grandmother's earrings? They're with your mother now. Remember the wallpaper she replaced without our consent? Remember the bed linens that disappeared last month? I tolerated all of this. I kept silent because I thought, family, we need to preserve relationships. We need to compromise. Mom just wanted to help. Your mother is a kleptomaniac, Marina stated precisely, or simply a vulgar thief. She has all my things. She believes she has the right to dispose of everything in this apartment, and you support her in this? She's my mother, and I'm your wife. Marina's voice cracked. Or was I? Because if your mother's opinion is more important to you than my dignity, then we have nothing to discuss. Oleg was silent, standing in the middle of the room, averting his eyes. What did you even tell her about the loan? He finally mumbled. Nothing. I lied so she would give back the keys. So there's no loan? No, but it worked. And do you know why? Because your mother perfectly understands that she's behaving criminally. She was scared not because you might do something, but because she feared accountability for her actions. Oleg sat down on the sofa, lowering his head. She's lonely, she has it hard. I know she has it hard. I've never been against helping her. We can transfer money to her, buy groceries, invite her over. But barging in here in my absence, rummaging through my things, that's not help. That's a violation of boundaries. You want me to choose between you. I want you to grow up, to learn to tell your mother no, to defend not her right to steal my things, but my right to live peacefully in my own home. He was silent for a long time, then raised his head and looked at her. What do you want? I want your mother to never come here without an invitation again, for her to not have keys, for her to return everything she's taken over these 3 years, and for you to publicly explain to her in my presence that her behavior was unacceptable. She won't return them. She's already given them away. Then she will compensate, at least partially. I will calculate the cost of the items, and she will pay me that amount. She doesn't have the money. Then you will pay from your salary every month until the debt is paid off. Marina crossed her arms over her chest. And I also want my name to appear on the apartment documents. I've lived here for 3 years, invested $300,000 of my own money in renovations. I have a right to a share in this property. This is my grandmother's apartment, and it's your wife's home. Choose, Oleg. Either we are partners, and you confirm this in writing, or I'm moving out, right now. He looked at her as if seeing her for the first time. Perhaps he was. He had never seen her like this. Tough, demanding, unwilling to compromise. I need to think, he mumbled. Please do, but by Monday. You have 3 days, and in the meantime, I'll stay with a friend. Marina went to the bedroom, got her bag, and quickly packed her things. Oleg stood in the doorway, watching silently. As she was leaving, he suddenly said, I thought you were weaker. She turned back. Me too. The door closed quietly behind her. For 3 days, Marina stayed with Katya, a friend from university. She told her everything. Katya listened, shaking her head. You should have kicked that bitch out earlier, she concluded. Marina was silent. Maybe she should have. Oleg called twice. The first time, he just remained silent on the line, then hung up. The second time, he asked, Are you serious? Marina replied, Absolutely. He hung up again. Sunday evening, he texted, Come over, let's talk. Marina arrived Monday morning. Oleg met her at the door, looking unkempt, unshaven, with red eyes. I agree, he said quietly, to everything. I spoke with Mom. She'll return what she can, and she no longer has the keys, and I'm ready to add you to the apartment's ownership. Half, Marina corrected. For 3 years I've maintained this home equally with you. He nodded. Half. Marina walked into the apartment. On the sofa lay bags, her belongings that Tamara Olegovna had managed to take in recent months. Not everything, of course, but at least a part. She conveyed that she apologized. Oleg spoke with difficulty and promised it wouldn't happen again. Fine. Marina didn't argue, but she found it hard to believe. For a week, they lived cautiously, at a distance, like strangers. Oleg finalized the apartment documents. Now Marina was a full co-owner. Tamara Olegovna didn't appear and didn't call. Gradually, the tension began to subside. A month later, her mother-in-law called Marina, asking to meet. Marina thought for a long time, then agreed to meet at a cafe on neutral territory. Tamara Olegovna arrived looking sallow and aged, sat opposite her, and remained silent for a long time, fidgeting with a napkin. "I was wrong," she finally managed. Oleg explained. "I didn't think, well, that you would take it like this." Marina looked at her silently. "I just wanted to help my niece," her mother-in-law continued. "She has no money at all, lives poorly, and you have so much here. I thought you wouldn't mind." "You didn't ask permission," Marina said quietly. "You took other people's things without asking. That's theft, Tamara Olegovna. Even if you wanted to help someone, it's still theft." Her mother-in-law nodded, looking at the floor. "I'll return the money," Oleg said. "How much did it come to? I'll pay every month." "Fine, and I won't come over without calling anymore. Fine." They sat in awkward silence for a little longer, then parted ways. Marina felt neither relief nor joy, just weariness. 6 months passed. Tamara Olegovna indeed paid $3,000 every month. Marina put it into a separate account. Her mother-in-law occasionally visited, but now she always called in advance and asked for permission. She acted constrained, barely spoke. Things with Oleg were also not easy. He couldn't forgive her for humiliating his mother for a long time. He tried to revert to the old ways several times. He hinted that his mother missed them, that perhaps he could give her a spare key, just in case. Marina's response was unequivocal. "No, the spare key is with Katya and no one else." Oleg was offended but didn't dare argue, seemingly understanding that she would no longer compromise. They learned to live with this rift. They hadn't mended it, no, they had simply learned to navigate around it, not to step on it. One evening, 8 months after that incident, Tamara Olegovna called Oleg. Marina overheard their conversation. Her mother-in-law asked him to come over and help with some documents. Oleg agreed, then looked at Marina with a guilty expression, expecting her displeasure. Marina simply shrugged. "Go, of course, she's your mother." He left, looking puzzled. Marina sat in an armchair with a book, not controlling his every move, not calling every 10 minutes, not having hysterics, just reading. She no longer felt like a guest in her own home. She was the owner, an equal, with documents in hand. And that changed everything.